Did you know that 65% of marketing leaders in APAC view ABM as a crucial part of their marketing spend? And that the emergence of generative AI is transforming the marketing landscape? Want to learn more marketing insights? Well, download the 2023 State of Account-Based Marketing in APAC report with the link in the pod description. You'll have valuable data points and key takeaways all at your fingertips after the single click of the download button. Get your copy now and find out how you can transform your ABM game today. What's up, marketers, and welcome to another episode of the Growth Colony podcast. I'm Liza from Xgrowth to tell you that each episode we bring in B2B leaders to chat about how you can achieve those everyday wins in the marketing world. Whether you're new to the B2B game, working at a leadership level, or even just showing some interest, we know you'll love the episode. So grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I'm Shaheen Hoda with Xgrowth, and today I'm talking to Suzana Ristevsky, Chief Marketing Officer, Executive Group Marketing at NAB, about the recent MarTech transformation that NAB has gone through. We'll talk about the challenges of the journey, different components of it, and where things are today. On that note, Suzana, thanks a lot for jumping on the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolute pleasure. Pleasure is all mine. I'd love to kind of start. I mean, this was, if not the biggest, definitely one of the biggest marketing transformations that has happened in Australia. I'd love to first talk about what was the motivation behind that and how did it come about to basically what it turned out to be.
Yeah. So the motivation for revamping our marketing technology was that the current technology stack was not capable of delivering what we needed to do in terms of customer experiences. And the reason why it wasn't capable was because it was very fragmented. I work for a very large organization, and the technology had been built over a period of time, and different people were adding different bits of technology. So before we knew it, we had this spaghetti tech stack that really wasn't servicing us in the way that we needed to. So we had to embark on this journey to get one way, same way, and introduce the new tools that we as marketers have access to, things like decision engines and customer data platforms, so that we were able to revamp our marketing communication capability. Actually, not even marketing capability, our communication capability for NAB.
So can you paint us a little bit of picture of when we talk about a MarTech transformation at NAB, what does that look like? Because, for a lot of people, and they're not working at a large organization like NAB, and it's like, hey, we're using Marketo or we're using Eloqua, and we're going to switch to Marketo now. And let's just have some conversations with a couple of salespeople from those companies. And yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. Yes, there's a bit of a migration and boom, that happens. I feel like that the scale of the project might be a little bit hard for some people to understand. Is there a way that you could kind of give us a little bit of a picture of what did that mean?
Yeah. It's interesting because there are so many providers for so many components of what a marketing tech stack needs. And I think the first challenge is actually to not have conversations with external providers, to sit down with the internal teams and understand what are your business requirements. And really simplify that. So take all the technology away and go, what is it that we're actually trying to achieve here? We are trying to achieve personalized communications so that we're able to send the right message at the right time through the right channels, and the right conversations for our customers. We want to be able to augment the banker relationships by being able to provide, preemptive communications to our customers. So, for example, the ability to be able to tell a customer that they may be predisposed to fraudulent activity, or that they've met their savings goals, or that it's time to review their fixed term deposit. So being really, really clear on what the business requirements are. Do you want real time? Is it okay if it's batch? Do you want to be able to on-site personalize your website so that if a customer comes on your website, they're seeing something that's relevant to them? Being very clear on your business requirements is the most important thing when you're outlining marketing tech stack, and getting alignment with people in the organization on that, and making sure that the technology lines up with other technology. So, for instance, we need a data lake. I need to be able to line up with what our data colleagues are preparing from a tech stack perspective. That actually should take a lot of time. I feel like a number of businesses, whether they're small, large, techie, not techie, don't spend enough time up front really documenting what is it that you're actually trying to achieve. Once you've done that, then you can have conversations with a number of suppliers out there and work out what capabilities the suppliers have, the providers have, and match that up to your business requirements. Interestingly enough, it's also being able to say, this is what our future tech stack looks like, and not getting swayed by all of the other shiny tools that might come, because as soon as you land a tech stack, someone wants to add something to it. And it's like, actually, let's just keep it pure. We'll debate, decide, have a tech stack that we're all happy with. And then we're going to scale it, embed it, manage the whole cultural change around it, and not keep changing, which is how it got us into the mess in the first place.
Yeah, that's very true. And I feel like that's such an important advice for not allowing the tech to drive the strategy.
Correct.
And the business requirements, but allowing the business requirements to drive what tech is going to come in. And I think a lot of marketers are in that place that we get excited, right?
Yeah.
It's like that looks great. Let's bring it in. And we'll do the integration. We'll figure that out. And before you know it, you're in this hot mess of bunch of technology pieces that are in the organization, don't know what to do. Can you talk? You talked about kind of data lakes, the customer data platform. What were the main components of the MarTech for NAB?
Yeah, so it is as simple and as complex as must have a data lake, must have a decision engine, must have a customer data platform, and must have the ability to orchestrate campaign orchestration. Now, there are, other tools around that, but really they are the main pieces, and then must be able to pipe in to all of your owned assets. So pipe into your apps, your call centers, your banker leads. Yeah. And, that sounds really simple when you say it out loud, but of course that in itself has so much complexity.
Absolutely. And was this like a, I know a lot of organizations, you also want to mitigate risk. Are these like mainly with one provider? Do you like have a mandate to say, no, we have to have multiple different providers? How does that work?
Yeah, well, look, there's a healthy tension between, relying on just one provider versus relying on a number of providers. And you probably want to be somewhere in the middle, because if you're relying on one provider, you can get too entrenched. And if something happens, then you're kind of a bit stuck. You have to extricate yourself from, one supplier and on everything. Whereas too many suppliers, I think, creates other complexity. So what we did when we looked at our marketing tech stack, we literally assessed what is the best decision engine, what is the best customer data platform, what is the best campaign orchestration. And, providers are extending into different areas. Like there's providers that provide all of those things. But actually, when you do your assessment, we personally found that we chose, 3 or 4 different providers and really went for who is best capable of meeting this part of our business requirements around decisioning, and who is best capable of meeting this requirement around, on-site personalization capabilities, ad tech capability. So that's kind of how we approached it. And I'm pretty happy with where we've landed, because I feel like we've, chosen what best suits our business requirements. And it's not a plethora of suppliers, but nor is it just one.
Got it. I'd love to also hear from your side when it comes to the MarTech. NAB is in a unique position where you both have a direct-to-consumer model, you have a B2B for SMB model, you have institutional banking. So it's a wide range of different markets and clusters and segments in the market that you're serving. How did that play a role in the selection of the tech stack and the MarTech setup?
Yeah, so it played a role to the extent that there are business-to-business businesses in our business. There's a lot of business. But so you look at NAB and you go, the consumer, it's all about being able to create scale and providing personalised experience to millions and millions of customers. Actually, small business, we don't have enough bankers to be able to service, hundreds and thousands of small businesses. So they need a scalable marketing technology so that we can augment the banker relationships. And then we get into corporate and institutional, where some of the work that we do with our, data and our ability to communicate is on actually providing them with insights around aggregate transaction data so that they get an understanding of, their industry cash flow looks like this on average, and this is how they play, against that. So I strongly believe that B2B marketers, it is just as important that they understand personalisation at scale and use these tools as it is for a consumer. There's other things to navigate, like who is the customer? For a business customer, we have, 5 or 6 people attached to an account. It could be the bookkeeper, the lawyer, the owner, the CEO. So there's actually a little bit of complexity around how do you actually attach an account to the experience, and you have to navigate through all of that. But a lot of what we do is for our business and private bank customers. Being able to augment the banker relationships is hugely, hugely important, particularly since we position ourselves as the relationship bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And Suzana, I'm going to ask the question, but you completely feel free to say can't share information on that stuff. But were there any technology pieces that you introduced specifically for that B2B side of the business?
Not specifically, but we had to line up to their channels. So, of course, the business banker channels, we needed to link in to the business bank CRM channels. But we're using the same decision engine, the same customer data platform, same ad tech. Yeah.
Were there challenges? And you were talking about the best of picking the best, and I also love to, again, if we can share, love to hear
Sure.
like what does that tech stack look like?
Yeah.
But the other question that I also love to ask is, were there, you talked about like best in class technology, did you have to make sacrifices based on, these guys are really good in the B2B space and their data is all like account focused and, connects all that information together, versus these providers are a lot more stronger in the direct to consumer space and we got to make a sacrifice here. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So it actually, a lot of the complexity lies in the way we hold our data and how it's, put into our data lake and how we can extract that data. So the data lake was incredibly important. The suppliers in there, data bricks. How do we actually create data sets that the marketing community can access, or in fact anyone in the organisation can access? That's where a lot of the complexity lied. And that's where some of the differences were with regards to, business bank data versus consumer bank data. once we got past the data uplift and optimization, genuinely, and again, remember, it's going to be very dependent on your business requirements. So when I say best, I'm going to let you know who our partners are, but it's best for the requirements that we had. And I can't emphasize enough that, we're actually so incredibly fortunate that we do have copious amounts of suppliers that are able to provide wonderful technology. The secret is to find the ones that suit your business requirements and not get caught up by the shiny tools that you may not naturally need. So for us, we use Adobe for campaign orchestration, Pega for the decision engine, Telium for customer data platform. And, we use them across both our business and consumer channels.
Got it. That's awesome. And first of all, thank you so much for sharing that. I know I wasn't sure if that's okay to ask, but I really appreciate it, because I think in a lot of situations, the first thing that is on people's minds is like, so what does the tech stack look like, and what are the bits and pieces that go in it? So really appreciate you sharing that. I'd love to hear some of the challenges that you went through. This does not sound like a simple thing, and I'm sure it was not a simple thing. How long did the transformation take, Suzana?
Yeah. So look, 3 years with investment allocated to it, probably 5 years with, some self-funding and proving out, revenue business cases before that. So let's say five years. And I guess, a couple of the challenges. First challenge is, how do you present the benefits of such a large transformation to an organisation that has got 50 million other things that they need to also do? We are a bank. We must be compliant. We must make sure our customers are safe. We must protect them from fraud and scams. And yes, we must communicate to them. Being able to create a big business case, but actually then break it down into bits and be able to do bits, prove out that, we're getting something out of actually allocating, some spend to this, and then keep going, I think is the most challenging, but the best way to approach any technology transformation. If I went in and said to NAB, I need hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to provide a wonderful marketing technology stack so that we could communicate to our customers, I would have got a big fat zero.
Good luck, yeah.
But if you start with, how do I break this down a bit? Like, how do I improve a little bit of the technology, create a new, some new revenue business cases, new campaigns, trialing the Pega decision engine, or at least a model in a manual way, so that you can say, look, when you create campaigns and you create some modeling around that and you have a next best conversation, you can increase revenue. That's interesting. So I refer to it as minimal viable product. Spend the time working out what your business requirements are. Start by dreaming big and document that, but then work out, how do you break it up into minimal viable products? Test, be agile, see how you go, try and mitigate risk along the way, prove out that you're going to get some revenue or cost out or better customer experiences, and then it kind of scales as you progress through that. That's how we did it at NAB, and that worked.
Got it. That's that makes sense. I would imagine it was a lot harder than what you just made it sound like. There would have been a lot of different hoops that one had to go through to get there, but 5 years is a decent amount of time. Were there during the implementation phase, was there certain things that kind of came up and you're like, we could have done this better, or we'll definitely learn from this? Is there anything that comes up from that phase?
Yeah, always. So I say context adds 100 points of IQ. We operate within a value chain at NAB, and you have to be very focused on your own. This is what we're looking to achieve with marketing technology, But actually, you also need to understand what's going on in other parts of the business. So one of the things that we found, of course, while we're making these changes, there are other parts of the business that are looking at their CRM systems or, the app capability, or they're updating, the NAB Connect, which is our business online transactioning facility. You really need to be aware of what's going on in the organisation, because if I'm setting up pipes to those channels and those channels are changing, it's going to be a problem if we haven't lined them up in the same way, or I've spent money on an old tech, linking into an old system and they're setting up a new system. So be very specific with your own business requirements, but then you need to broaden it out and get an understanding of what everyone else is trying to achieve and when things land, so that you can minimize wastage and not, create connections with old technology sitting somewhere else.
Yeah, I can imagine, because obviously you talked about a 3-year timeline from implementation, from the start of it to being implemented. But then I totally understand what you're saying from the angle of like, year one, you've had a conversation with this department and these are the requirements. But guess what? In year 2.5, they've decided to make some changes. And in a large organization, that's hard to coordinate, I would imagine. There would be a lot of different moving parts.
Yeah. And look, we're lucky in this day and age that we have the cloud and you can create, mini app versions, and things are a little bit more agile. Back in the day where you had to hard code everything, my goodness, trying to do a transformation in that environment would be pretty hard. So, it was hard, but lucky technology has advanced and there is some agility within the system, which is great. And that's actually part of the business requirements. Like, you have to be able to move if things do change somewhere else.
That's interesting.
Important to understand.
Right. So that you had put that in the requirements, that this is something that we need to keep in mind and need to accommodate for those changes to other departments and other kind of business units.
Yeah, look, I'll vomit at any mention of hard coding.
Hard coding and hybrid.
Yeah. Actually, I said hard coding. That's right.
Last question I want to ask before we jump into some rapid fire questions is, what is next for NAB? So you've gone through this transformation. What's in the horizon now? I mean, obviously, you think 5 years ahead, as you did with this transformation. What is coming that you can share?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got this marketing technology stack. We want to embed it, scale it. But now what I've done is I've created we as a team collectively have created this marketing technology stack that's moved us from 50 million personalized experiences to 500 million personalized experiences. Now, guess what? We're going to need creative solutions for that, which means Gen AI comes into perfect timing. Couldn't have planned it better myself. We now have access to Gen AI tools that are, going to be able to deliver content much faster, more scalable. So we're currently doing some testing on Gen AI. Can it produce content? Can it produce basic creative for, the plethora of emails that we're augmenting our relationships and customer experiences with? We're working through that. But, I have to put money where my mouth is. Like, I've sort of started this journey with one of the reasons why we got here was because everyone was creating their own tech stacks and it got really fragmented. So actually now we have to protect it and make sure it doesn't get fragmented again. Now, be open and agile and think about what needs to, change, but let's not make changes for the sake of making changes, because it's just hugely, hugely complex. And I think we should just make sure now we sit down and understand how to use this technology to better the relationships with our customers, which is the first and final reason why we actually did all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on Gen AI. As a bank, I would imagine there are certain concerns with the LLM models that are out there. what are some of the concerns that are on your radar for leveraging
Yeah.
generative AI?
Yeah, and look, Gen AI is an extension of AI, and we've been using machine learning for many, 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 many years. So we're always concerned about privacy, ethics, data protection, and I don't think those three things will change. Gen AI is the same issues that we've got to just make sure that we're protecting our customers' data, making sure it's de-identified, never getting it into the hands of anyone that shouldn't be receiving it, will always be number one importance. The ethics of it is interesting, and that's more around, like when you think about it, this is collecting data that's historical data that you're using to, predict future or communicate to future customers. So within that, let's make sure that there's no bias in previous data. There was interesting stuff that was sort of going on where they found that in the States, when they were, calling for stock shots, they were all Anglo-Saxon stock shots of males. I was like, okay, well, that's a problem. That's an ethical challenge, and it doesn't represent diversity. So there will always be humans that need to come in and just sense check. And it's the humans that are prompting Gen AI. So what are we prompting them with? And I think we need to navigate through that. So I'm not fearful, and I think we will need to, just like we've adapted to everything else that's been presented to us, we will adapt to Gen AI. But go in and again, minimal viable products, test for ethics, test for privacy, and test for, allow for human intervention. We'll work our way through it.
Are you struggling with your campaigns? Maybe they're not performing as well as you thought they would. Well, luckily for you, the team at XGrowth have nailed the art of account-based marketing. So if you'd like to know more about how you can hop on the ABM train, book a free consultation with the account-based marketing experts at XGrowth to help you get started with your ABM journey today.
Let's do some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And I want to jump into the first one. So, first question I have is, what is one resource? This could be a book, a blog, a podcast, a talk that you've come across that has had a profound impact on the way you work or live.
I think System 1 and System 2 thinking. So Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel, I can't pronounce his, Daniel Kahneman. The psychology of people is fascinating for any marketer, I'm sure. We assume people make rational decisions. This book is a very good one to remind you that we're not always making rational decisions.
Almost never. Almost never.
Yeah, that's right.
It is a great book.
Which is a reminder, we've spent most of this podcast talking about marketing technology, but goodness, if there's one thing I'll be focusing on more than ever, it's brilliant creative that, ignites emotional primacy.
Question number 2. If you could give one advice to marketers, what would it be?
To marketers, goodness. Remain curious and open-minded. And with that comes, there's this, you must continuously learn in our industry. If I think about, goodness, I've been in the marketing game for 30 years. I can guarantee you that, my degree was quite useful when it came to the frameworks of marketing, but there was none of it. How do you set up a website? How do you deal with all the digital? Remain curious, continuous learning, and never assume you know it all, because you don't.
That's very true. That's so important. Suzana, who are some of the influencers or kind of thought leaders that you follow, whether it's in B2B marketing, direct to consumer marketing? Who are some of the names that come to mind?
Oh, look, one of my favorites is Mark Ritson, who's generally quite fun and sometimes controversial on all things marketing. So I thoroughly enjoy reading his work and his commentary. I think Seth Godin is someone that I follow, like what he does. And actually, James Herman, who wrote a book on the case for creativity, he's got some great thinking too. And, that's probably for the next podcast too. It's all about creativity.
I'm making copious amount of note here. And I'll have to look up James Herman as well. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Last question.
Yeah.
What's something that excites you about, well, I usually ask this question. I ask, what's something excites you about B2B marketing? But I know that you focus on both B2B and B2C. So I'm going to make that a little bit more generic and ask, what is something that excites you about marketing today?
I just think we have access to tools. I mean, the holy grail is being able to send the right message to the right customers at the right time. We have access to the technology to do that, and we can do that at incredible scale. So, I'm excited about being able to create beautiful customer experiences that genuinely help our customers get on with their financial well-being and all of their objectives. That's what I'm excited about.
Suzana, this has been an awesome conversation. I want to just say thank you for coming on the podcast. I want to say thank you for being so open, to be honest. We've had guests who are from large organizations, and sometimes it's very hard to share. And I feel like you're so open about a lot of the challenges and issues and so on and so forth. So just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolute pleasure. Lovely to spend time with you.
Today's episode of Growth Colony was produced by Alexander Hipwell and Liza Maywald. It was edited by Dave Samito with additional editing by Liza Maywald and music arrangement by Alexander and Liza. Special thanks to Tina Wabe. We couldn't make the show without you. Growth Colony is hosted by Shaheen Hoda, Director of Growth at Xgrowth. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe and give us a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Do you think you'd be a great guest or just keen for a chat? Send through an email at podcast@xgrowth.com.au. That's podcast@xgrowth.com.au. That's all for now. We'll catch you next week, right here on Growth Colony.